Hey, we are live. Give a couple minutes for people to pile in. We'll talk about today's subject. So, welcome to Sapphire Ridge News, where we talk about conservative politics, lawfare, and current events. Today's topic is Diddy. I watched Jesse Weber on Law and Crime Friday night. There's new revelations. That's hard to say sometimes. Diddy's ex, Kim Porter, wrote a memoir, and she gave it to her friend. And inside the front cover, it says, "If anything happens to me, Diddy did it." Now, that will be hard to prove because they said she died of, quote, slight pneumonia. But some of the things that she lists in there is that Diddy is responsible for Biggie unaliving. And she goes through and she names names. The manuscript is 54 pages, and she gave it to her friend. But Death Row Records was making serious inroads in Diddy's territory in New York. And she says that she witnessed Diddy offer $1 million to unalive Biggie. That's huge. And then she documents in there the serious abuse that she suffered at the hands of Diddy. And it's just very bizarre because I believe that she died in 2018. And the person who has the manuscript said that his lawyer was on with Jesse Weber Friday night and said that the DOJ has a copy of her manuscript. And now Diddy's two sons are claiming that they hold the sole rights to Kim Porter's manuscript. And this guy's lawyer said, "Go ahead, file a lawsuit, make my day." So that's interesting. And Kim Potter died of, quote, slight pneumonia, but it's trying to be said that Diddy felt she knew too much and that Diddy's responsible because there are poisons that mimic pneumonia, that mimic heart attack. And Jesse Weber also said that there are 9 new charges pending against Diddy. And he went over the civil lawsuits that are just disturbing. That Diddy would invite male or female young up and coming actors and actresses, and that he would drug them, and then but he would not give them enough to knock them out completely. They would go black, and then each one of the 9 of them described waking up to being how can I word this? Being taken from behind by Diddy. There's 9 of them. It's disturbing, isn't it? Said that this pattern of abuse of girlfriends goes back 2 decades. And I would encourage people to go read her book, Kim Porter. It's I can look up the name so that we have it. Hello, American Nana. I'm doing an update on Diddy. I watched Jesse Weber show on Law and Crime on Friday night. And it turns out that Diddy's previous girlfriend, Kim Porter, wrote a manuscript, wrote a memoir. And she gave it to a friend. And inside the front cover, it says, "If anything happens to me, Diddy did it." And she passed away in 2018 of, quote, slight pneumonia. And she also says that Diddy is responsible for the unaliving of Biggie and Tupac. That she witnessed him offer $1 million to someone to unalive Biggie, because Biggie Death Row Records was horning in on Diddy's territory in New York. Well, I shouldn't put it that way. Biggie was signed under Diddy. Biggie was leaving Diddy to go to Death Row Records. And I believe it was Tupac that owned Death Row Records. And so he did not want him to leave because he felt he knew too much and that he would go and give too much behind the scenes info to Death Row Records. Yes. And there are 9 new civil lawsuits filed against Diddy for assault. Um, it appears that Diddy wanted people to know who was assaulting them. He would drug them to knock them out, but not give them enough light so that they woke up the next morning. They would wake up during the assault. It's disturbing. And the one gentleman said that Diddy, while he was eyeing him from behind, let's put it that way, he woke up and said Diddy told him, "You're getting what you came here to get." That's disturbing. And Diddy was denied bail again, and turns out he's been contacting witnesses even from behind bars. He's been using other inmates' phone cards to call and and try to buy off witnesses. They have him on phone telling his son, get rid of the pizza boxes. Get rid of all the pizza boxes. And his son said, what pizza boxes? And Diddy apparently said, just get rid of the boxes. So that could have been his code word for telling his sons to get rid of evidence. He's behind the scene, behind jail, tampering with witnesses, tampering with evidence. They have a separate charge that they're filing for obstruction of justice. The Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York did a sweep and found 13 legal pads in Diddy's cell that documented how he was going to buy off witnesses, you know, how that he was going to get rid of evidence. And then his lawyer threw a fit, said that's all attorney-client privilege. And the prosecution said, well, we sent it to a taint team first, and the taint team sent us what wasn't. And said, if you're creating a security threat to the prison, that's not attorney-client privilege. So the new judge denied bail, saying that if he can subvert the prison system and contact witnesses and try to buy off witnesses, then what on earth would he do if he was out? And then his lawyer said, well, he will have a private security team. The private security team would be owned by one of Diddy's inmates, fellow inmates. Right. I agree. It's just so disturbing. He's gotten away with this stuff for 2 decades. It come out on Friday that he's been doing this stuff for 20 years. And that there's new charges pending. And Kim Porter's book, the feds have it, the manuscript. The feds have her manuscript where she documents, you know, everything that he did to her. Right. It's just so disturbing that even the judge said the judge was going to entertain bail, but then when he read what all he's doing from behind bars, he said no. Said if he can't even follow the rules by previous judges for 2 days afterwards, he's contacting witnesses. He's using other inmates' phone time and phone cards to call witnesses so they don't know it's him. Having his sons contact witnesses, having, it's just the breadth of this thing is bigger than Epstein. And, there was a, and I also saw an interesting update on the Moscow, Idaho murders. I watched, there's this guy, Chris McKinnon, I can't never pronounce his last name right. He runs a podcast called The Interview Room. Yep, that's right. And now, on top of all the stuff, the tapes and the videos, that they also have Kim Porter's manuscript listing allegations within it. But she died of, they said, slight pneumonia. Okay. There are poisons that mimic pneumonia. There are poisons that mimic heart attack. Yeah, the interesting thing on the Moscow, Idaho, it was 4 college kids that got unalived. Um, Chris at the interview room said that it's his belief that all of the girls at that dorm off house, off campus housing, that he was going to, BK was going to unalive all 6 of the girls. Chris is interesting. He documented how that Brian Koberger planned this for months. He said the prosecution has, and he said this may not be his first set of murders. He said back in March, before the killings happened, BK bought 2 K-bar knives, 2 of them, and said that BK was obsessed with Ted Bundy. And he showed where that where the car was parked behind the house. He could see right into Kaylee and Maddie's room, and he could see right into Dylan's room on the 2nd floor, and said that he may have been in the house before, because he said one of the things that he noticed was that in Dylan's room, the window, the screen was pulled out, like someone had tried to break in through that room. And he said that what BK told Maddie, not Maddie, Xana, because he went upstairs first and did Ethan, and then Xana. Dylan heard a commotion and went to her door, and she heard somebody tell Xana, because Xana was crying, just having witnessed her boyfriend be unalived by BK, that she heard sobbing and crying, and that she said she thought that maybe her and Ethan had an argument. But she said then an unrecognized voice said to her, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." And then he unalived her. He went downstairs to Kaylee and Maddie's room, and it's believed that Kaylee and Maddie were the initial targets, because when he scoped out the house, said there's incidents of him driving by the house on video camera 12 times in the weeks before that happened. Said that he knew what girls' rooms were where. He was surveilling them through their own TVs and laptops. Said that, interestingly enough, that when the warrant was issued, he told his attorney when they were going to serve the search warrant, he told them, take my flat screen TV, take and listed off a dozen things. One of the dozen things was a box that the police do not know what's in that box. The murder weapon could be in that box. But this new judge denied all of the defense's motions and denied to take the death penalty off the table. But both of these cases are just very disturbing. You know, I live in eastern Montana. You know, Moscow, Idaho is like 8 hours from where I live at. And he also said that the police did a complete 3D rendering of the house, every room in the house. He said that well, he didn't say this. I previously saw about a week ago, Kaylee's mom gave an interview, her mom and dad, and Kaylee said that it was like Kaylee was targeted because Kaylee's body was shoved in a corner, sitting up on the bed, up against the corner. I think that's kind of serial killer kind of stuff, isn't it? That they place their victims because they want them to be found in a certain position, right? It's just very disturbing. Just so much stuff. Yeah. Yeah, he's one screwed up kid. See, the reason why they think that he was surveilling the girls is because he worked at no, not he worked at, the prosecution has hired a, I don't know if it was prosecution or defense, hired a, had to be prosecution. I missed the guy's name, but he runs a company. He used to be a CIA agent, and he listed off 12 different ways that they surveilled people through their smart TVs, through their cell phones, through their laptops. And he said there are ways in which they can go in through the back door. You know, they can say, oh, well, we're here to set up, you know, uh, a video camera. And what they do is they use the person's laptop to attach to the the security camera. And then they create themselves a back door so that they can go in and access that in the guise of helping with security. And all along, they're spying on them. But it's just very, very disturbing. And see, this new judge, Judge Hippler, he told BK's defense attorney, do not file a bunch of motions. Well, she filed 13 motions she wanted all of the evidence dismissed. She didn't do it in one motion. She did 13 separate motions. And the starting of the very first motion, the judge's answer was, this court does not take kindly to these type of motions. So he denied all of her motions. She wanted the death penalty taken off the table. She wanted all of the evidence dismissed. They were all denied. You know, these girls that were unalived were just a couple of months away from graduation. That's what's the most heartbreaking. And Kaylee had herself a job lined up. She had a new car. She went and Kaylee doesn't live in Idaho. Kaylee lives in Texas with her mom and dad. All of her brothers and sisters went to this college in Moscow, Idaho. And the college has bought that house. They tore down that house and they're going to build a memorial to those 4 kids. And I think that's a good thing. Because, you know, such a degenerate thing to do this to young girls. It's just heartbreaking and sad. Both the Diddy case and the Moscow, Idaho case are both very sad In the Diddy case, it's someone who got too big for their britches, you know, wanted to contain their power and, had these parties that, he would purposefully, they said he would mix uh, GHB, which is the date R drug, with ecstasy. And the one girl said that there was a waitress walking around with a tray full of drinks that she took a drink off of the tray full of drinks, and that she was drugged and assaulted. And it's just very, very heartbreaking and sad, that we live in this world where, you know, things are apparently all roses. And, we have a new administration coming in that says they're going to get to the bottom of things. But then you look at what is going on. You know, there's the Diddy case, and then before the Diddy case got charged, you had the Moscow, Idaho case. Both very disturbing individuals at the root of it. So that's what I have for you today. We will be doing verdict watch on Monday, which is tomorrow, for the YSL case. So take care, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.